TAMIS is Tennessee Archive of Moving Image and Sound here at the East Tennessee History Center in downtown Knoxville. And what we do is preserve the audio-visual history of East Tennessee. A lot of that includes home movies. The Walther Barth home movie collection is really special. It was donated by his son in 2006.
Very well shot. Walther Barth was a skilled cameraman.
He worked at a film lab in Germany in the 1920s and 30s.
16mm camera, kind of camera that Barth would have used. So Mr. Barth was an immigrant from Germany, and the collection starts in Germany in the late 1920s and early 1930s. His films are really energetic and really joyous.
He was kind of a fun-loving man, as you see. He filmed himself a lot with different friends, different girlfriends, social gatherings he's at, some dances. There are historic events like a Zeppelin flight. And he was also there at a time as the Nazi Party was rising. And around 1930, we get footage of a parade advertising a gathering, a speech by Goebbels.
In this really interesting window of time before German society changed very dramatically in the 1930s.
As the Nazis were gaining more power, he immigrated to the United States in 1931.
He gets a job in Binghamton, New York. Maybe the most fascinating thing about the collection is the first chapter is all about his life in privileged society in Germany. And then the second chapter is a really interesting story of the American immigrant experience, an inspiring depiction of the American dream. He spends a lot of time taking road trips.
He actually visited Knoxville and the Smoky Mountains back in the 1930s, soon after he immigrated.
He passed through Gatlinburg. There are shots of him driving through the Smokies where we can see members of the Civilian Conservation Corps working on doing infrastructure work.
Most of it's in black and white, but there's some really interesting color footage in there where the copper mills were. As far as we know, this is like the earliest color footage of that region. There's footage he shot in 1937. He gets on an airplane and flies over the city in Knoxville.
It's a really great sequence. He shoots the plane on the runway, and then all of a sudden the footage cuts to flying over the Tennessee River. There's a barge on the river, and he's flying over downtown, and you can make out Market Square and Gay Street. Then flying over one of the marble quarries along the river.
To watch what we have, it's fantastic, but knowing the damage that the film has already accrued, started to degrade.
You can't run this through a projector. You can see the obvious warpage. I don't want to handle it too much because it's brittle and it may snap. This is a one-of-a-kind artifact, and if it disappears or deteriorates, it's gone forever. So we applied for a grant from the National Film Preservation Foundation
to have brand new prints of this film made and have the film restored.
We were really excited when we were notified that we received this grant.
You know, it's a real honor to get this kind of grant, especially for this amount. It's awarded us $70,000, and it's a matching grant, so the Friends of the Knox County Public Library are donating $15,000 to have the work completed. We have to send this film to one of the few labs in America that can actually do this kind of work.
The last project, we did the same process. It's really as though if you were looking out a window and you thought you had a pretty good view, but then someone came along with a cloth, wiped off smudges, wiped off fog, wiped off dirt, and then everything was just crystal clear. The small thing is the textures of clothing, of buildings.
Not an exaggeration to say bordering on the miraculous. And it is a fairly lengthy process. We'll be seeing it back about a year from now. But this is going to be like seeing brand new films when these come back.
More detail, I think that footage is really going to pop, and I for one can't wait to see it.
We'll be posting updates on this collection as it's in progress. You can find this on Facebook. You can look for us on Instagram.
We also have a page on Vimeo.com. And if you have any historic films lying around your house, or if you know anyone, we'd be really eager to take a look at those.
We love preserving the history of the region, and we especially love seeing people from the community when they bring their home movies, what their lives look like.
A rich cultural record that we have here in Knoxville to ensure that these artifacts live on for years, decades, even centuries.